Just say Olivia.
Olivia.
I'm Frank.
Greg.
Frank.
Lori.
Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs a blood transfusion. As a frequent blood donor myself, I have come to understand the need and appreciation for blood donations. At some point in your life, you or someone you know will need a blood transfusion, and either way, we're all part of this world, so why not do what we can to help it? My goal is for you to gain an awareness of the need for blood donations, and I would like to motivate you to go make a donation yourself. Before I began donating blood, I was not as aware of the substantial need for blood donations. Every day, someone in the United States and across the world will need a blood transfusion at some point, and there are various reasons why they may need one. Some examples are for certain diseases, such as cardiovascular disease and cancer, where blood transfusions are needed on a regular basis. Another example is for auto accidents or emergencies and emergency surgeries such as organ transplants, where patients need blood constantly in order to keep themselves alive on the operating table. Now, to go over a few statistics to help you gain an understanding of the need for blood, over 41,000 donations are needed every day in the United States, and over 30 million blood components are transfused each year in the United States. Now, in relation to some of those diseases that I mentioned, 1.6 million Americans in the United States were diagnosed with cancer last year. Most of these patients are going to require chemotherapy, and chemotherapy requires blood transfusions throughout the therapy. Another statistic is that one severe accident could require up to 100 pints of blood. This would be 100 donations because 1 pint is equal to 1 blood donation. So now that you have a slight awareness of the need for blood donations, we can begin to talk about how to make a donation and the different blood types that humans have. So let's talk about some of the components in the blood types. There's 4 components of the blood. There's cryoprecipitate, red blood cells, blood platelets, and blood plasma. Now, you could either choose to donate one of these components, or you could donate whole blood, which is composed of 3 of these components. And as many of you may know, there are 4 different blood types. There's type A, type AB, type B, and type O. And then each of these 4 blood types can be positive or negative. So looking at this diagram, type O negative, this doesn't list the negatives or positives, but you can imagine this saying O negative. This is the universal blood donor, so it can go to any person with any kind of blood type if you look at these green arrows. And then type AB positive is the universal platelet or plasma donor, and you can imagine these arrows going in the opposite direction, so they can donate plasma to any blood type. And unfortunately, these two blood types, O negative and AB positive, are extremely rare. They are therefore very low in supply, but they are also high in demand. So most of these 2 blood types are primarily used in emergency situations where nurses and medical staff don't have enough time to test the patient's blood. They just need to get blood into them as soon as possible. And they're also used in newborns. So now that we've gone over some of those blood types, we can talk about how you can make your donation. So what is the solution? The solution is not for manufacturing blood. That's not a possibility. The only way to do this is to donate blood and collect blood from other Americans or people around the world. So donating blood is a 4-step process. First, you register, then you go through your medical history, get a medical exam, then you make your donation, and then you get free refreshments. So for your donation, they use a clean syringe and they dispose of it immediately, so there's no cross-contamination. It's completely safe. And once the needle's in, you just sit back and relax for 10 to 15 minutes, let them collect a pint of your blood, and then you're free to go or to enjoy the free refreshments and beverages. So there are many different ways you can donate your blood, or many different places you can donate your blood. One of these places is the American Red Cross. That's one of the most common ones. That's a huge place at Penn State. They have many frequent blood drives at the Hannon Building for those of you who go there, so there's plenty of opportunities. And 80% of these blood donations through the American Red Cross, they come from colleges, high schools, companies, organizations, religious institutions, military locations, and many other places. And the other 20% come from American Red Cross blood donation centers. So there's many opportunities for you to go out there and make your donation. So now that we've covered the different blood types, you're aware that there are different blood types and there's different components. We can now talk about how this actually makes a difference, and you can begin to visualize the benefits. So you might be thinking to yourself, similar to the presidential election, how's one donation going to make a difference to anybody? Who cares? Well, remember when I said that one whole blood donation can be comprised of 3 different blood components. Well, each of those 3 blood components can be sent to 3 different patients. Therefore, you're saving up to 3 different lives. So that's a way to look at it. And if that doesn't do it for you, we can talk about some statistics. One study done by the American Red Cross found that if you start donating at the age of 17, and you donate every 56 days until you're 76 years old, you would have donated over 48 gallons of blood and saved over 1,000 lives. So that puts it more in perspective. And another intriguing statistic is that after the attack on the United States on September 11th, over 500,000 Americans signed up to donate their blood for those in need. So those are a few interesting statistics and facts, and now I'll talk about a little story that might touch your heart. So in 2006, Carol Schultz was diagnosed with leukemia, which is the cancer of the blood, and she actually recovered from it. And upon this recovery, her and her husband decided to have their first child. And unfortunately, 26 weeks into Carol's pregnancy, her cancer came back, and her baby needed to go through several blood transfusions through the chemotherapy. So Carol and the baby, while she was pregnant, they needed 50 transfusions of platelets and 50 transfusions of whole blood, and they also needed a stem cell transplant. So with those 250 units, that's 100 people who contributed to saving their 2 lives. So this is Carol and her baby. They ended up surviving it, and they're still alive today. If they didn't have these transfusions done, Carol may have needed a C-section, which she may not have survived, because it's a lot riskier going under the table. So thankfully, those who donated their blood helped keep Carol and her baby alive today. So I've shared with you the need for blood, how you can donate, and an intriguing story about those who were saved by it as blood recipients. So every 2 seconds, someone like Carol and her baby Faith need a blood transfusion to save their lives. You have the power to save them, so what are you waiting for? Thanks.